So with BDD, typically people perceive that there's a flaw in their appearance or something wrong that other people would think is really slight or non-existent. So there's a mismatch there between sort of one's perception of themselves and others' perception. But I think what we know with BDD is that actually how important they think that is, how distressing, how interfering, and all the things they're having to do about that is kind of out of proportion, as in it's quite extreme and it causes distress and interference. So we might say, oh, actually I do see there's a slight bump in your nose, but for that person that bump is like the centre of everything, and they have to do loads of things that, you know, to try and fix it, where somebody else might have the exact same bump and be living life kind of normally without distress and without it causing interference. I'm Amita Jassi, I'm a consultant clinical psychologist, and I'm the lead for the Body Dysmorphic Disorder service for young people. Body Dysmorphic Disorder is BDD, and we're the only specialist clinic for young people with BDD in the UK, and in fact only one of a very few across the world. So BDD stands for Body Dysmorphic Disorder, and sufferers with BDD perceive that there's a flaw in their appearance that to other people they wouldn't be able to see it, or it would feel like they would look at it and think, oh, that doesn't look like anything. And that causes loads of distress and impact on their life, and they engage in lots of behaviours trying to kind of hide or fix it. So they might do things with their makeup, they may try and sort of hide with masks, they often seek surgery to try and sort of correct what they perceive as a flaw, and they spend lots of time kind of avoiding things or sort of checking their appearance or comparing themselves to others. And it's incredibly debilitating. So we think about 2% of the population have BDD, and it causes such impact on their lives. So with young people, they often miss school. There's really high risk with BDD, so about 80% think about sort of ending their lives, about 30% try. So it's a really devastating disorder, but something that's treatable. So BDD is prevalent in both young people and adults, and there's often a belief that it's more prevalent in young people because of the influences of things like social media and kind of filters and so forth. But we don't think social media causes BDD, and so it doesn't cause higher rates. But we do think social media plays a role in terms of people with BDD will often check their appearance and compare it, and so young people have access to social media like 24/7, so they're able to kind of look at images, compare themselves, put images of themselves up on there, get feedback. You know, it's just constant, and that fuels the fire of and fuels the cycle of BDD. BDD is quite prevalent in that we think about 2% of the population have BDD, and that's across the lifespan, sort of adults and young people. And from what we know, so there's not huge amounts of research, but we think in adulthood the prevalence in males and females is about equal, so it can happen in men just as much as women. But in young people, there's some interesting stats that are coming out that perhaps in younger sort of age, so in adolescence, girls are more likely to have BDD or come forward with BDD, but it kind of balances out by the time they're adults. Somebody would know if they have BDD if they're really preoccupied with sort of something they see as a flaw in their appearance, or they think there's something wrong with their appearance. Often people with BDD have more than one area they're concerned about, so kind of between 5 and 7 areas they can get really preoccupied by. And if somebody is really sort of preoccupied and distressed about it, and it's getting in the way of doing things that other people would be doing their age, then that might be a sign that they may have BDD. I guess another part that's really important with BDD is not just kind of the worrying about the appearance, but also doing things to try and hide or fix what they're worried about, and avoiding things. You know, those kind of behaviours, we call them repetitive behaviours, also be a sign. So I think if you're preoccupied with a perceived flaw in your appearance, you're doing lots of things to try and hide or fix it or avoid things, and it's causing distress and interference, it may be that you've got body dysmorphic disorder. So with body dysmorphic disorder, whilst it's common and really distressing and interfering, there is good treatment out there. So there's 2 recommended treatments. It's a psychological condition, so there's psychological therapy called cognitive behaviour therapy, and also medication. I guess the challenge that we have with BDD is that people aren't coming to mental health services because people with BDD think there's something physically wrong with themselves. So they're going to cosmetic surgeons, they're going to get it fixed. So our challenge is to raise awareness of BDD to get them to mental health services and access treatments that do work. So in terms of thinking about how people can support, a loved one or a friend who they think might have BDD, I think it's really important to really sit alongside somebody and understand that's how they see themselves. What often can happen in BDD is it can cause lots of conflict because people say, well, I can't see what you see, but the person who's got BDD genuinely sees what they see in the mirror. So it's about sitting alongside and supporting that person, say, look, I understand that this is distress and interfering, and really focusing on the distress and the impact rather than if what they see as a flaw is there or not. And just also to share that there is support out there, so to support them to access help. So the first port of call would be going to your GP and saying, I'm really worried about appearance and I think I need some help with this. So I would say that's a good thing for somebody to do if they've got a loved one who they think might have BDD. So I would say with BDD, whilst it has a devastating impact on people's lives, people do get better. It's what keeps me in my job is that we see people through the treatment. Once they're with us, if they get the right support, which they would if they come to our services, people do get better. They reclaim their lives and they live kind of fulfilling, happy lives.